Nate, welcome to Locked In. Thank you so much for having us, inviting us to your jail to do this interview. And we got to see a great program downstairs just now that I'd love for you to talk about later in this interview. It's really cool when, you know, former inmates get invited back into correctional facilities and get to sit down with law enforcement to have these types of conversations.
Yeah. You want me to go a little bit over the program that we just
I'll walk you through. We'll get there. Did you grow up in Kentucky your entire life?
Yep. Okay. Been here my entire life. I lived about 3 minutes from here by the public library. Grew up in a neighborhood down there we called the Valley.
Yeah.
My grandparents, I had my great-grandfather was a sheriff here in the county. My grandfather was a clerk. And growing up, you know, I was always in the political mindset of it. You know, to me, I'm not a politician. I think there is a difference in politicians and what I consider myself. You know, I took this job to try to help people because I've seen people struggling a whole lot while I worked here through the facility over the years. But, yeah, that's the only reason why I tried to move forward and run for the office of jailer like I did.
So are you an elected official or appointed?
Yeah, elected by. Yeah.
Now, does that make your job more difficult, do you think, to do effectively because you're elected, or is there more pressure? What are, like, the differences?
There is more pressure if you let it get to you. Just like any job, you can let it get to you.
Yeah.
Like I told you earlier, I started in 2007. I worked here. I've been going on 16 years, 6 years as the jailer, 10 was as a deputy. When I started in 2007, a lot of my family members was in here, which was hard to deal with. As the years went on, I spoke with the jailer at the time and told him that, you know, this is what I want to get into. I want to be able to, because I seen his position. If I had that position, you know, I could help. I could do things and help them while they're inside here for when they're released. You know, and had to run for office, get reelected. I think I run against 4 other people at the time, including the previous jailer. You know, so.
So were you were allowed to work in here while you had family members incarcerated?
Yes.
So I guess that's very different than like a normal state prison or a federal prison, because I don't think they would normally let that happen.
And like I said, it's very, very hard. You know, they knew I was a deputy, and I told them, look, you know, while you're in here, yeah, you're family, but I have to do my job and treat you as an inmate. You know, I can't come back here and hang out with you just because, you know, you want to have family time, you know, or I can't bring you something special because, hey, you know, hey, man, you're my cousin, you know, we always run around. Is there any way you can bring me an ink pen? I said, man, I can't do that, you know, I can't. That's just, you know.
Yeah. So growing up, did you envision that you would be here today running this facility?
No.
What was like your plan?
My goal was to be a police officer. You know, I'd done some security work off and on, and then there's an opening come down here, and I said, well, I'm going to give that a try as a stepping stone, because everybody was telling me, all officers said, you know, work in the jail for a little while, you know, start learning KSRs and our KRSs and everything, and then we apply for the academy, and then, you know, it'll help you, you know. But by the time it's time to apply for academy, I was like, no, I don't want to do that no more. I want to try to run the facility here and try to make a, you know, difference and a change in this facility and the people here in the county.
Now that you've been in this role, do you wish that you did take the police officer route?
No, I wouldn't trade anything for this role.
And why is that?
I love it. I love it.
Now, did you go graduate high school?
I did.
So you finished high school. Did you go to college for law enforcement?
I did for right at 3 years. I went at Somerset Community College in computer graphics.
Oh, so very different than what you do now.
During high school, I was in art. I was artistic. I could draw real good. I mean, not bragging, but so I was wanting to try to go more that way. Got out of high school, went into computer graphics, piddled with that for a few years, and then just decided to try the law enforcement side.
You know, that's interesting. Does that creativity that you had, you know, back in your youth help you do your job here better? I feel like it can kind of give you new ideas to bring in and run the facility.
Yeah, it gives me ideas, and I don't know, a lot of people say I like to color coordinate things and keep things in order, and I don't know. Yeah, I say it does play a role somehow. I never thought about it.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's nothing wrong with keeping it organized and stuff. I do the same thing. I got sticky notes, color
like,
coordinated.
One thing, you know, when I took over as jailer, they could just wear whatever they wanted. the family could drop whatever color, whatever they wanted off, and the inmates was allowed to wear it. So I said, well, I'm going to color coordinate them. I'm going to put county inmates in red, state inmates in blue. I'm going to put all state inmates in a cell together, all county inmates in a cell together. That way I can tell who's who and who's where. And when we got court days, I can run red to court, you know, instead of trying to run down certain people in 3 or 4 different cells. Everybody's in, you know, certain cells. And the judges got to catching on to seeing why are they in red and why are they in blue. I said, well, these are my county inmates. I said, oh, so the blue ones are your state. So they're already doing time. And I'm like, yes, ma'am, that's right. Well, so, you know, that played a role into them deciding, I guess, on how to give people time. You know, if somebody's up there on traffic tickets and they're wearing blue, well, they're doing years already, so we might as well just run their time in with them and have it be done with instead of trying to give them additional time to sit in jail.
Yeah. That's interesting that they were able to bring their own clothes, because I'll get comments on videos that people are like, oh, people can drop off their clothes, and then other people say, no, you can't. I've never came across one where you could actually, back before you took over, have your own clothes.
They could have whatever clothes dropped off.
What about like food or drinks or anything like that?
There was times that they was bringing pizzas and dropping them off, letting the inmate, deputies take it to the inmate. It's like, oh, this is for Nathan Carter. Oh, okay, yeah, we'll take it to him. But I don't think that lasted too long.
Yeah,
they had a lot of issues.
I can imagine that. So how different has being a jailer, changed since when you were, working here to now running the facility yourself?
I'm going to say that previous jailers would tell me, I go to them with an idea or say, hey, man, you don't need to do it this way. Let's do that. Well, until you're in this position, you got to do it this way. I guess that's something that, I'm going to get that position. And, because the ideas I had, they wouldn't implement them until, I don't know if they thought it was wrong or if they didn't agree with it. So, when I took over, I had several ideas to try to do different things. Some programs like we had today, people wanted to come in, jailers would say, I don't have the room, or I don't have a time slot. Churches, I don't have extra time slot, can't fit you in. Well, that's one thing I wanted. Shoot, there's plenty of time. For one, not to sound mean toward the inmates or nothing, but they're not going nowhere. My deputies, I can make time for you. Just tell me what day works best for you, and I'll get you in a time slot. And, that's one thing I've done. I got all kinds of programs, church programs. Every day is covered up with something, sometimes 2 or 3 a day. To the point now that, people's wanting to come certain days. I am full. I don't have nothing. It's all packed. And I pack it. As soon as somebody decides they can't do it no more, I'll call somebody, hey, I got an open slot. You still want to come? And I enjoy having them come in there, and ain't nothing beats looking on my cameras at home and seeing a cell full of guys or females down there standing in a church room holding hands and praying. And they won't do that in front of their buddies. But, when you get them off and they're in there and having church and the Lord talks to them, you see that, and I see that on camera. It's amazing. Yeah, makes me feel good.
I think one of the biggest issues in the prison system is that there's no activities. Yeah. There's no things going on. And if you jam-pack the day with multiple things, I think that, lowers violence, lowers a lot, recidivism, all of that.
It doesn't. A lot of people think that the jail, put them in there, they're locked away. We ain't got to worry about them. To me, if they come into jail, I got a chance. I've got that person here, depending on how long he's here for, that I might be able to, give him a chance at working on the floor as a trustee. All right, look, you got to be up at 8. Bed's got to be made, and you come out to work. You work the floor. This is the order. When you come out, you clean the bathrooms, you clean the walls top to bottom, you clean the windows. Get them a schedule and let them start keeping it. And people, I'm not being mean to them. I'm trying to get them used to working once they get released, And I tell them, if you need, when you get released, I've got connection with a factory here in the town that they will hire them. They tell them my name as a recommendation, and they bring me an application, and I sign off on it, and then they do put them to work. I try to set up a schedule of some sort and try to get them used to going out to the real world and starting all over.
Yeah. So when you started here, did you ever envision yourself, becoming the jailer? And at what point in your career did you decide I'm going to become the jailer, and what made that change?
Probably about my 3rd year here. Family members being in here, watching them, knowing they're struggling when I get out, and then there's nothing in here to offer to get help. There was nothing. We had church one night a week. It's nothing.
Yeah.
And they couldn't do everybody. They had to come in and do a couple sales and go. Some sales and some people, hey, man, when's church come back? I want them to go to church. Well, they'll be back Monday. I'll try and get you. We'll try and get you in. And then, that person might get out in that week's time or something. But, no, I didn't. About 3 years in is when I decided to, I said, well, I can make things different in here. I mean, I just got to give it a shot, Yeah. Talked it over with my wife, and she said, well, what do you got to lose? I mean, if you run, you get beat. You never had it in the first place. You don't know until you try it. I mean, give it a shot.
And you won that first time you ran?
First time I ran. Wow. Ran against 4 other people, plus the jailer that was already in office.
Now, were you running against individuals that were already working in the facility?
Yeah, the jailer was already, yeah.
And what about the other individuals? Were they working in the facility?
No, none of them was. They were just other people in the county.
Wow. So was that weird when you were running against each other and you're still working under him?
Yeah, no, I left.
Oh, you left.
I left. Yeah, I left before I... And I told him, I said, look, it ain't nothing personal, but this is something I've been wanting to do for a few years. I'm going to step away, and, I'll be running against you come election time. He said, well, I wish you luck, man. I said, thank you. And then that's just, I left and went to hospital security for the remaining, I think, 2 years and 4 or 5 months, and then filed and ran the election and was blessed and come back.
That's awesome. Once you became the jailer and became the boss, did you reflect back on your time as just an officer, as a guard, and maybe kind of think over your actions as an officer, seeing it from a different perspective now inside the jail? Yeah,
and I do that with new hires, people that's working under me, people starting out. Because when I started here, I might have weighed 185 pounds, and I was little, I was scared. And I see that in some people that I hired over the years, and tried to bring them in, coach them a little bit, and say, hey, look, I was in your shoes when I started, back in 07. Try to teach them what to expect, and say it ain't cut out for everybody.
Now you're on the pre-workout and about to be on some Wooooo energy.
Yeah, Wooooo energy. Yeah, I'm dying to try it.
Yep, we're going to make sure you get some of that. Ric Flair's Wooooo energy. Yeah. That's awesome. So what was that first week like, transitioning to becoming the actual jailer?
Very busy. I think the first day in office, state police, sheriff, city police, probation pro, maybe vehicle law enforcement. I had all my friends. My cousin was chief of police at the time. All come to the jail, and we stripped it, took everything out, throwed everything, all the mats away, blankets. I ordered all new because where they was allowed to have so much stuff, it was dangerous for them, inmates, and for staff to have so much. And a lot of contraband we found, somebody just going to get hurt eventually. They helped me. It took us over 8 hours, I know, to strip it. We filled up 2 blue dumpsters, county garage, and them kept emptying the dumpsters for us. Cow. It was a mess.
What was the weirdest contraband item you found in your career?
I could probably show you after it's over with.
You got some?
It's
you
probably
still keep them?
Is a gallon water jug that we'd feed the cells, or take to the cells. The inmate had, and I'll show it to you before we leave. The inmate, I don't know how he made it, but it's a shank about that long, probably about that big around, filed down to, it'd probably go through that wood.
And this was made out of a plastic water bottle?
Yes.
How did he melt it down with something?
I had no idea. He never did tell me. I had no idea how he done it.
Now, when you find something like that, what do you do?
Well, we take it and do a EOR, extraordinary occurrence report. We got to send it in to DOC, and of course, the person gets a write-up, and then it goes in his file, and I always keep stuff like that I find. That way I can show it during training or show it to new officers, or, show it to who, court. Judges ask, why you got this person in isolation, or why, for instance, the guy we found the stuff on, his lawyer called me, want to know why I'm strip searching him every time he speaks with him. I'm like, well, come by my office, I'll show you. This is why. I don't want him to take nothing like this in there when he's talking to you and stab you through the throat. I ain't doing it to be mean to the man. I'm doing it to protect you. And that's probably I've seen all kinds of little tattoo guns. It's amazing that they can make tattoo guns out of a piece of wire and a battery from an e-cig.
Now, do you guys allow cigarettes in here?
E-cigs.
No? Oh, you do allow e-cigs?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And nicotine pouches, which is the powder nicotine.
And you
pouch.
sell that on Commissary?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What else is on Commissary that people might find unusual or unexpected?
That's probably about it. Other than that, it's just foods. And they make their, and I'm guilty of going in the cell and sitting down and eating with jailhouse noodles, and I'll fix it at the house.
How do you make it? You got to tell us how you make it.
Trash bag, whatever noodles you decide to order, throw it in there. Pickles, throw it in there. Red Hots, throw it in there. Hot sauce, throw it in there. Banana peppers, throw it in there. Grape jelly, if you want to throw grape jelly in to add some sweetness, throw it in there. Cheetos, crush them up, throw them in there. Doritos, spicy ones, crush them up, throw them in there. Squeeze cheese, load it down. And boil you some hot water in a hot pot. Yes, pour it in there, let it cook it all up.
How long does it sit in the bag for?
A few minutes, not long.
And then do you drain the water after?
Yeah, they drain the water.
So you drain it and then dump it into bowls, split it up?
We eat it out of the trash bag.
So if there's
I've sat down with them and ate them out of the trash bag.
See, that's what's the difference between like someone in your position though and like a warden in a federal
they
facility.
probably wouldn't ever do that.
They would never even go into a cell like that just to talk alone.
Oh yeah, I tell my new hires, when you go in a cell, get to know everybody. Look them in the eye, talk to them one-on-one, get to know them. That plays a role in knowing if they're having a bad day, if there's trouble coming up in the cell, if something's going to happen. Like I said, I sat down and ate with them before, when I was a guard, and I've done it while I've been a jailer. I'd go by the cell and they'd knock on the window and they say, Nate, they call me Nate. They don't call me, some calls me Jailer Carter, but that just sounds weird. They say, hey, we cooking jailhouse noodles, man. You want some? I said, how long when you start? And they say, they'll be ready in about 3 minutes. I said, I'll be back. I'm going to get me a spoon. And I'll go in there, sit down with them and eat the...
Now, do you guys call them by their first name or is it last name?
Yeah, we call them by first name.
What's your opinion on that? Because in most facilities, it is the last name.
That they call the inmates last name?
That they call the inmates by the last name.
Oh, I don't know. I'm just used to calling everybody that comes in there by their first name.
Yeah, and something I realize here, you guys shake hands. It's very that is non-existent.
Respect thing.
Yeah, do you feel like that's a big missing piece to corrections, that the respect's not there?
Basically, because like I said before, some people they put them in here and they don't treat them like, I guess, human beings. They're inmates. Hey, if they call them by Carter, lunch, throw on their tray, shut the door back, go back up there and sit down and get on the computer or their phones. It's and all my inmates down there, not my inmates, I can go in there and talk to them. Some people, like I tell them, I consider you my friend. If you need something, if I can help you do it, get it or whatever, I will. And they know that. They get out of here, they message me, thank me for the time they've been in here. I don't care to answer your phone call. I don't know how they get my phone number, but they do call me sometimes. I even had some come to my house and thank me. I'll shake their hands and hug them just like I would you if I seen you on the street. And
yeah. What type of inmates are housed here? Like, what are the charges, and do people stay here long periods of time?
No. Usually, probably 5 years is the most that somebody would stay here. Other than that, they would get called into prison. The most serious crimes we have here is, we've got a few that's in here for murder. And as soon as they get sentenced, the prison, calls them in. We got to take them to prison. Other than that, it's just trafficking or theft, stealing, something like that. Usually what people we house here.
So they could be going through a pending case for up to 5 years like say on a murder case?
No. Usually a murder case, it takes them about 1.5 to 2 years to finally get sentenced, but they would stay here that time. And then once they're final sentenced, then the Department of Corrections would call for them and have us bring them to prison.
Are you familiar with the Wade Wilson case that's going on right now? He had just got sentenced to death, but I was looking at it, and he's actually staying at a county, and now that he's sentenced to death, they'll move him at Lee County, I believe, in Florida.
Really? No.
Yeah, so I guess that's interesting. Like if there was a high-profile case in your town, they would stay here.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
How does that make
unless
you
it
feel?
unless it involves federal? Now, if it involves federal, feds come and take them quick. I mean, we don't.
Do federal inmates ever stay here?
No.
Okay, because I know some counties.
I can't house federal inmates
Gotcha.
due to the size of the jail, and they got a lot more different rules or something that they have to. I think they got to be in a cell with other federal inmates. They can't be mixed in the cell. They can't be in floors. It's totally different policy, I guess, than state inmates.
How many inmates do you keep here at one time?
It varies between 80 and 85 as of right now for the last 6-7 months. It's only 73 beds. The highest I've seen it has been 152 inside there, which is dangerous for everybody because you can imagine just 73 beds. You got 152 inmates in there plus your staff. It's a lot of tensions are really high when it's overcrowded like that.
And what do they put like a mat on the floor?
Yeah, give them a mat to sleep on the floor.
That's what they would do when the SHU was overcrowded in the federal prisons.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they slip in a mat right on the floor,
yep.
And that's it. There's 3 of you guys in a little tiny cell.
Yeah.
Do you guys have a SHU here?
One.
And what is your opinion on the SHU and the use of it?
We've had to use it. Did we use it a lot? No. Did we use it a lot back then? Yeah. I think they're necessary because some inmates probably cannot stay in population due to either hurting somebody or hurting themselves, and I have to have somewhere to put them, and I believe other facilities are the same way. As for punishment, like if they attack a guard or they get in a fight with somebody else and they go into the SHU, they stay in it, ever how many week, maybe 7 to 10 days, depending on the violation that they done. But other than that, we use it. Basically, what we use it for is if somebody wants to talk, needs a break from the cell, which I understand it. You're in a cell with 15 people, and you need a break. I mean, they want to go in there and be by themselves for a day or two, and then they're ready to go back, just maybe to collect their thoughts or whatever. And we use it basically for that. I don't use it. I ain't used it I'm probably jinxing myself. several months for any violations or any issues of fighting or conduct or anything like that. Everybody's behaving for the most part, I guess.
What's the staff to inmate ratio here?
80 inmates, 4 staff.
4 staff, so 4 plus you. That's a pretty good ratio.
Yeah.
I think in the feds it's like 1 to like 200 or 300.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a lot.
That's crazy.
Like at the camp, there was 120 inmates to 1.
Yeah. And that's usually like one person's probably in like a dorm with
everyone.
50 people or 100 people maybe. It's
tough, yeah. But it goes back to the respect thing,
Yeah. And see, everybody's locked behind a door. Only way it come out is if somebody in the control room opens it. Only people we have on the floor is, your trustees. But, it comes back down to a respect thing.
Now, how many people are locked in one cell? Is it like a pod? I've been in some facilities where it's a pod.
I think we got 13 females in one pod, and they got a big day room area. Then they got 4 small rooms that just got bunks in them. The males, they have one huge pod that's got maybe 15 bunks in it, 15 or 16 bunks, I think, and it's just all open.
And they're not. Yeah.
They're not separated in any separate pods. Their bunks are right out in the middle of the.
Are the living conditions okay? Like, how would you describe it to your normal person?
It's jail, but yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, no windows. Yeah, you can ask them what one thing they like to have. They say window.
Now, what about for rec? Is there like a rec?
We do have a rec area. It's a small rec area. It's got a basketball goal, chain link fence. That's basically it. that, and then the room we was in, that's where they have the church and GED and MRT programs and all that stuff.
Now the food situation, what's that like here?
Sucks.
So,
Be honest, I mean, it's jail food. You know, it's not like being able to go out to McDonald's or eating your mama's home cooking. I mean, do I eat it? Some of it's like real good. They got a spicy chicken sandwich that beats Wendy's, believe it or not. Some stuff's a little rough to look at, you know, but...
Yeah, so today's a Thursday. What's breakfast, lunch, and dinner here today?
I had to look at my menu, man. I couldn't tell you for sure. I will tell you that every other Friday, I go out to a restaurant here in town and buy them supper. And like last Friday, they had Little Caesars. Next Friday, not this Friday, next Friday, they'll have a place called it's a Back Porch Barbecue. Pulled pork sandwiches. They get homemade banana pudding. They get potato salad and baked beans and cold drink every other week. We started doing that when COVID hit because everything was, small businesses in the county was closing down so I got in contact with them, started doing that every other weekend, and then just continued doing it. For one, the inmates like it, and it helps having a real meal thrown in there, even though it's even over the 2 weeks. I'll tell you a funny story on that. I was doing ribeye subs for them, ribeye sub sandwiches from this local restaurant, and I got several grievances because there's too much fat on the steak. So I cut the steaks out, you know.
The inmates were complaining about the steak.
Yeah. I said, fellas, yeah.
Are you taking like orders too? Like,
I don't do orders.
Okay.
I was probably doing 6 or 7 restaurants around surrounding, you know, Rockcastle County. The steak place is one of them. When they wrote me grievances, I got to answer them, you know.
Yeah.
You know, well, I won't serve you steak no more. Sorry about having too much fat on your steak. So I went to them. I said, you know, went around the sales, took a piece of paper, and I said, look, here's all the restaurants. I'm going to continue doing this. I'm just going to drop it down to 4 restaurants. So you all tell me by majority vote on what restaurants y'all want to keep. So Subway, well, we don't longer have Subway. I was going to Masson County. Subway, Wendy's, Little Caesars, and Back Porch Barbecue was the ones they decided to keep. And as for Wendy's, we do Baconator meals for everybody. We'll do a breakfast meal every now and then from Wendy's. But, yeah, that helps break it up.
Now, there's going to be some, you know, civilians who have never had a loved one in the criminal justice system or any affiliation with it that are going to say, you know, why are we doing this for people that commit crimes? Because I get those comments all the time.
Yeah.
What do you say to those people?
You never give up on them people. I mean, them people that's committing crimes, I mean, yeah, they committed a crime. Are you mad at them? Well, if they stole from me, I probably am mad at them. Am I going to help them? Yeah, I'll still help them. You know, drugs, you know, my deputies, and I hear it too outside there, why are you doing that for them? I mean, hell, they piece of shit. I mean, why are you helping them? Somebody's going to help them. I ain't going to give up on them. I mean, if they ask me, hey, can you send me to rehab? Yeah, I'll call somebody for you. That ain't no problem. I got plenty of contacts, you know. I mean, that's what I tell a lot of people. You don't give up on them. Don't matter what they're, you know, there's a guy robbed my dad, stole from him, brought him to jail. I treated him just like I did everybody else. He asked me for help. I helped him, you know.
Do you think all people are redeemable no matter what they are accused of doing or convicted of doing? Do you think in some way,
yes,
whether they have life in prison or there is an end in sight,
yes,
they're redeemable?
Yep. Yep, I do.
And why do you think that?
The Lord. Yep. He turned to give you faith to him, and he can turn everything around.
And does that help you stay neutral, I guess, when people come in with, say, a heinous crime like a sex offender, where the world hates, but you still have to do your job to protect them?
Yep.
Does that keep you neutral?
Yeah, I'd say so, yeah. Yep. And I tell this, you know, my deputies and people come in, you know, my new hires, just like sex offenders, like you said. Yeah, I don't agree with what they did. You know, if they ask me, can I help them get into rehab for, you know, their drug addiction, and yeah, I still will. I mean, I don't look, and my deputies, some of the deputies tell you, I'm not sure if all of them does this, but, you know, when somebody's being booked in, we put their charges in. We don't look at them after that at their charges. We look at you know. We look at we call you by your name, and look at you for who you are. We don't go back and say, oh, let's see, he asked for, oh, no, I ain't going to help him, man. Look what he's charged with. I mean, I don't train them to be like that, and I don't believe none of my staff's like that.
Yeah. Now, I've encountered some inmates, like in my prison journey, that are just so hard-headed against prison officials, correctional officials, because they've had negative experiences with law enforcement and because they're in prison because they got caught by law enforcement. How do you kind of break down that barrier with them to show that, hey, I'm not the one that put you in prison, but I am the one that is here, you know, to keep you here and work towards that? Done
that many a times, and I say, look, I ain't that little cocksucker that put you in here, so you ain't no even yelling at me. I said, while you're here, though, I'll help you get, you know, if there's something you need, I can help you get that. You know, if I can't do it, I'll try and get you somebody that can. You know, that is a big thing that my deputies face. People come in and they're mad. Officer leaves, and then they turn that aggression toward the booking officer. You know, we set them, you know, they're sitting down. We sit down with them, talk to them, say, look, man, there's no reason to be mad at us. Like you said, we didn't bring you in here. All we're here to do our job, book you in, keep you safe, get you a bond, and hopefully we can get you out of here. You know, other than, you know, if you got questions between now and then, ask us. If we can answer them for you, we will. But until then, I mean, you're going to have to respect us. We'll respect you.
And I think from the inmate's perspective, I think sometimes we lose sight of that person that put us in prison, like a law enforcement officer, was literally just doing their job. Yeah. And they have a family to provide for, and they're going. And I think there's a lot of that. It's not the person that maybe snitched on you or turned you in.
But they had to blame somebody. And most of them, they don't take the blame for themselves. They want to blame you for bringing them to jail. I mean, it's your fault. It's my fault that they're, you know, some people gets mad and fusses at me, you know. I don't know if they taking it out on me, that thinking it's my fault that they're here. You know, I mean, some people, I'm sure there's somebody down there that's probably mad at me. I don't know why, but, you know, listen to phone calls. They, you know, tell lies about me and say, he's keeping me in here for no reason. He called the judge. I ain't calling the judge, for one, I ain't. Why would I call the judge and tell the judge not to bond you out? I know I won't do that. Never have done that.
Yeah.
But
now, how often do you see individuals come in, say they just got arrested, they're waiting to go through the court proceedings, haven't been sentenced yet? How many do you see actually change for the better by the time they get sentenced and they do get a lengthy prison sentence, and maybe they needed a second chance at that point and didn't need that sentence to kind of change because they already changed?
Yeah, I've seen a few. I mean, I don't know how to put a percentage on it. I've probably seen less than 50 that's actually come in and changed, and 50%. That's got probably half. I'd say it's come in and changed, got out, and has even seen some that's even started their own business and still thriving today. That when I got them, I mean, they was worse of the worst, and they had the biggest dope charges, PFOs, and everything like that. And they do my time here, and they go to prison. They get out, and they message me, hey, man, I'm out. How you doing? I just want to say thank you. You know, I think, how you doing? I'm good. And then later on, months down the road, you see that, hey, man, here, I've had them send me a picture of their checks. Hey, look here, I got paid for the first time. I'm like, great. Then they send me a picture of a car that they bought, and they send me a picture of their new business logo. I'm like, man, that's awesome. I say, keep doing good, man. You know, I mean.
Now, in a facility like this, are inmates able to earn money in any way?
No. Okay. But the Department of Correction pays them if they're working very little, 13 cents, 15 cents, something like that. I can't remember exactly. It ain't much.
So there are job availabilities here?
If they get out to go on work release, yeah.
Oh, so you do run a work release program here too?
Yeah.
Is that a separate staff load that you have for that too?
It's county employees. They don't work under me. They work for the county. That Department of Corrections trains for them to be able to take out the inmates.
Now, is your, like the person you report to, like the city council or the mayor, what's the structure of that?
The judge for the county.
Okay. So you're under the judge.
Well, no, I mean, I don't. There's nobody, I ain't trying to brag or nothing. There ain't nobody above me. I mean, I work with the judge.
Gotcha.
You know, he's judge of the county, and he's the one that signs our paycheck, signs mine too, but he lets me run the jail. You know, I ain't never had an issue. Me and him's got a great relationship. I ain't never had an issue with him on anything. If I go to him with ideas, he comes to me with ideas. We talk it out, and I implement them. he is over the county employees that take my inmates out, but he lets me pick the ones that take them out. You know, he don't just send me somebody that's no good. You know, and then we monitor them, do work site checks, and if there's any issue, I go to him and say, look, he can't take them out no more. He cuts them out and replaces them with somebody else. But there's nobody actually above me. He can't fire me or tell me what to do. You know?
You represent the people,
yes.
the people that elected you.
Yes, sir.
How often is the election?
4 years.
4 years, okay. Because I know in some states, I think it's 2.
Yeah.
And I wonder how effective that is to keep, every 2 years.
Yeah, for my position, it's every 4 years now. I think the clerks every 8. City the mayor's every 2 or something. I don't know. There's all different kinds of. I can't keep them up except for my own. That's the only one I'm worried about.
Yeah. Now, does the sheriff have his own jail and facility too?
No, the sheriffs ain't over any jails.
Okay.
It's all the Kentucky elects their jailers.
So in some states, it's the sheriff is elected.
Runs it, yeah.
Is the sheriff elected in the state?
He just appointed over it.
Okay.
Yeah, they just run the facility.
What, do you think the country will ever be streamlined like across every state, or no? Do you think it's always going to be like?
It's always going to be different, I'd say.
Do you feel like that makes the criminal justice system tougher because there's just I don't know, like I feel like everything's different.
It is different in this county, which I don't understand this. I've seen it ever since I started here. We have the same judges that's in Pulaski County. Okay, people can do the same crime in Rockcastle County that they do in Pulaski. They get more time in Pulaski than they do in Rockcastle, and I have no idea. It's the same judges. I don't understand the difference and why everything's different like that. Yeah, everything should be the same, my opinion. I mean, if drug trafficking is this much time, it should be that much time all around, I would think. I don't know why it's different.
Yeah, I mean, that brings up a great point, too, because we were downstairs at the pre-release program you were running, and someone had mentioned that, what the programs you're offering here, they don't get that same treatment in another jail. Yeah,
I think some jails just don't. I don't know which ones, but I'm sure there's some that just don't want to let them in. There's fear of security, issues like, oh, they're going to bring something into the jail. We can't screen all them people. I'm pretty sure a lot of jails wouldn't let. I don't know how many people was down there in that room. Probably wouldn't let 10 people in the facility. For security reasons, would be the only thing. And this has happened in my experience. I've had programs coming in and catch it on audio. We monitor phone calls, videos a lot. Hear them say, "Hey, such group comes in. Start going to church there, and ask if you can come in with the church group." Boyfriends, girlfriends, husbands, wives, and they set that up. And that happens. The church group comes in, they's like, "Oh, we're going to bring an extra guest." And I'm like, "Okay, that's fine." Well, they bring that, person's spouse in, So, I mean, they do set stuff like that up. That does happen, and they will find a way to run contraband in there. So we try to I try to monitor who comes in here, and we try to pay attention to the phone calls daily and video, and try to make sure nothing like that is coming. I've got 3 people, including myself, that does that on a daily basis.
And you have to tell the ingenious thing you did with the shoes that you were telling us earlier. Oh, yeah. I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, well, when I started before, I would switch my tennis or my work boots I'd come in with inmate shoes just to try to sneak, and I would crawl sometimes down the state hallway and try to peep into cells or windows and catch them with contraband, because they know when I started here, I didn't have cameras. I think I had camera on the Sally Gate area. I didn't have nothing in the cells. Now I'll show you my layout on my cameras. That's something else I implemented in. Cameras I'm sure I got a blind spot somewhere, but I try to put a camera everywhere I can zoom in. I mean, it's amazing, the camera footage or the videos and stuff, quality of it. You just have to see it. But yeah, going back, I'd switch my shoes, put on the inmate sandals or shoes that they had, and try to sneak because you can't hear them. And I don't know how they figured out my damn feet sound when I walk, but they knew when I was walking down the hallway, Or like I told you too, that work release would be out working. There'd be a work release inmate inside the cell. Before the other crew come in, I'd take him out and I'd get on his bunk, cover up with the blanket. Work release would come in and guards would leave. You know, guards knew I was in there. And then they'd sit down and start getting their contraband out, tobacco out, you know, and then they get on the table because I'd be watching them through the blanket. They get everything on the table. I'd just get up out of the bed and walk over and say, "Thank you, fellas." And, you know, like, "Oh, man, seriously?" I'm like, "Yeah." You know, and then, you know, that's just, I don't know. They always up to something, and I always tried, like they said, I tell them it's like chess. You know, you all going to make a move. I got to try to make a move to capture that pawn from you, you know.
Why do you think that there are facilities that don't have cameras? Like I've noticed in the feds, there's a lot of blind spots. If there's a facility that don't have a camera, you need to get cameras.
Yeah. Because the inmates know where the blind spots are. They know where there ain't no cameras. They know what guards don't pay attention to cameras, and that's when they set up everything. I mean, it's just, I did learn that over my years. I mean, they're very smart.
I feel like it almost promotes violence to not have them.
Well, yeah, because they know they can get away with it. All they got to do is say, "No, I didn't do nothing." You ain't got no evidence of them doing anything. You ain't got no video. And you go to the Commonwealth of Kentucky to indict somebody over an assault. Well, you got video footage? Nope. So, I mean, why you do then?
But you do have, I guess, the guard's word against the inmates, which the guard usually wins on.
Yes and no. I mean, since I've been in jail, I had the issues come up where a guard done incident reports on what happened. And when I go back and watch video, I've got audio too, just not have audio. I hear and see it at all. I mean, what deputy wrote in his incident report ain't what happened. You know, I mean,
that holds officers accountable.
Exactly. You know, and when I put this new system in, you know, I told them, you know, audio and video. Yeah, I ain't here to try to catch you doing anything wrong. I'm here to protect you and the inmates. But you have to remember, what you say reflects your actions. You can't tell somebody that you're gonna fucking kill them and then walk over and smack them, and then he wants to file assault charges on you. And I take that in front of a judge. When you said that, you threatened him, and then you went over and smacked him. Well, you're in trouble. Yeah. I mean, you can't say you didn't say it. And when you fill out your reports, now you have to put down what's actually said because you can hear word for word.
Now, on the topic of cameras, what do you think about shows like 60 Days In? And because that's mainly with county jails and facilities like this that they approach.
You know my true opinion on that?
Yeah.
I think it's set up.
You think it's set up? You don't? And why do you think it's not real?
I think it's just, well, I watched that and I'm like, there's no way that can be happening and them people not know it. You know, it just seemed like it's staged. Now, it might not be, but I've tried to watch it, and it just seems fake. It don't seem legit.
Now, don't the inmates have to sign waivers?
Yes.
Do you think that's across every state?
Should. I would assume it is now. I'm sure.
So they're going to know that probably a show like 60 Days In is being filmed there.
Yeah.
And just like the individuals, like I had a PI on my show that used to be a correctional officer.
Yeah.
They put him in undercover in there. He only lasted a day, and then he, tapped out.
Yeah.
It waved them down the camera.
I mean, they're making money, right? They want them ratings, so I mean, they can stage.
How do you feel about that those companies use like another person's downfall?
I'm just guessing probably what they done. I don't know if somebody, they approach them, want to do it here in my jail, they might say, hey, you got like 12 inmates that would do this. You know, we'd bring them all up here in a room, and they'd sit down and go over, hey, we're going to do this and this and this and this. You know, it's like a setup movie production.
Yeah,
that's what I figured. You know, I mean, like today when I told them, you know, going to talk downstairs in the class and speak with you, and one of them asked me, "Is this like 60 days in?" I'm like, "No, this ain't gonna do nothing like that." You know.
Yeah.
But I think it's doing the jail stuff and being in it and seeing and listening and knowing. I just think it's rehearsed, I guess, in a way.
Yeah, I kind of get that feeling too. I just don't know how realistic it actually is.
Like you said, they have to sign something to know that they.
Yeah, or maybe they sign it after and then they just blur the footage.
They could not know who the person is in there that's the snitch, but they'd probably know that somebody's in there because, hey, we're filming 60 days in. I mean, they're not going to, they can't not notice a big camera filming them, and they ain't going to incriminate themselves on purpose or on accident about saying, hey, I'm going there and slash old dude's neck. I mean, they're not going to incriminate themselves.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. I saw like in some shows they have the cameras. They release that new show. Maybe it was in Arkansas, I think, where they released all the inmates in the pod with no security. It's on Netflix, and they let them, do their own thing for, it's like a trial, I think, for 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah. And they fixed the cameras in the cells, but they knew they were being recorded. It's a jail experiment is what they were. You got to see that on Netflix.
I have to look that up, yeah.
Do you watch any prison shows or anything like that?
I watch Prison Break.
I just started that. Oh, so good. It is so good.
That's several years old, though.
All right, so great question. Is that realistic? Do you think that could happen?
Yes.
You think that could happen?
Oh, yeah.
Really? Yeah. There's that many loopholes.
Oh, yeah, I guarantee it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So can you break out of any prison? Like is there such thing as the perfect prison?
Oh, I'd say not. I've got a paper I need to let you read. It's called, I think it's called The Duck. Have you heard of that?
No.
The prisoner wrote it. It's how that he had set up his escape.
From here?
No, not from here. I think it might have been a federal prison. I don't know where. It says it all in that. But I've got it. And I just gave it to my deputies in the last meeting, let them read it. How they can, I'm pretty sure it's a maximum security prison, but how he manipulated a guard to bring him a guard's uniform. It took months. It wasn't nothing that happened overnight. It took months. Had him bring him his own guard uniform, and he put it on and walked out the front door. Walked past captains, sergeants, everybody. They even checked him, let him out. Yeah, it's. I think any prison can be broke out of, any jail.
Like what happened in Alabama with that the female deputy that got that killer out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess when you always have staff, there's always a weak spot.
Always that weak spot, yeah. Manipulation's a dangerous tool, my friend.
Yeah. Now, I'd love for you to talk about the program that we witnessed today and to share what you've implemented and specifically that program, because I thought it was incredible.
Yeah, that was reentry program, that they calling it. What it is the first time it's ever been in Rockcastle County, first time it's been inside the jail itself, downstairs. When inmate is close to being, I think, 60 days being released, all these people, as you've seen downstairs, has all these connections. They can help them get jobs, cars, clothing, food, homes, help, rehab help, whatever that they need. Stuff like that was never offered at all that I know of anywhere. I don't know if other states are doing it or not. Of course, when Elena messaged me, and I was like, yeah, sure. Absolutely, yeah. Whatever we can do to give them a chance to fresh start. Because some inmates, friends, some of my friends that's been in here says, I don't know what to do. I get out tomorrow. I said, you do? I said, well, good. He said, well, no, that ain't good. He said, I ain't got no home or nowhere to go. All I got is these clothes in my property. He said, I don't know what to do except for go back the way I, started, using drugs and making money that way. They didn't have resources back then. So that's why this program's come into the county. And everybody's on board. Nobody's benefiting anything from it. I'm not benefiting things from it. I don't want to benefit things from it. My benefit would be to see you when you release from here. When I'm out eating supper with my family, I look and I see you over there eating supper with your family. That's my benefit. That's what I want to see come out of this.
What advice would you give to a parent or a spouse or a boyfriend or a girlfriend that has someone that they love and care about going into the criminal justice system for the first time, that are worried about, like the dangers or worried about how they can support them? What advice would you give to them?
Support them. Yep. Be supportive of them and give them. And my wife could tell you when I started here, give them, when they come home, give them a little breather. Let them, because sometimes this job ain't cut up for everybody. You have to deal with a lot of issues that will drain you mentally, let alone physically. And when you go home, you're still wound up from your day at work, whether you had a fight, whether you had an OD that you had to save somebody's life, whether you had somebody take their life. You have to go home and give them a minute. If they need 5 minutes, 10 minutes, give them a minute, and then be there if they got questions or want to talk about it. Ask them and listen to them.
Awesome. Well, Nate, thank you so much, man, for inviting us in here and having this conversation. And, it's been a real honor to come in here today.
Well, thank you for having me, man. I'm glad you come by. Glad to meet you.
Yeah, you too. What do you think about your first podcast ever?
That's pretty neat. I'm waiting on my Wooooo energy now.
It's not so bad. We send it when you're up for a re-election, put it on the bulletin boards or something. People get an inside look at you.
That starts in a year and a half.
Okay, awesome. Well, if you need anything, please reach out. I'll come on your campaign trail.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
Of course, man.